Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're joined by so many fellow Coloradans because the increase in rates, particularly around your gas bills, but also around electricity, it really hits everybody. So we could ask any of you to join us. We're all paying the bills, but we have kind of a cross-section of different folks to talk about how that impacts them. We're joined by Colorado Energy Office Director Will Torr, Department of Regulatory Agencies Director Patty Salazar. That's where the Public Utilities Commission is housed, in the Department of Regulatory Agencies. So the staff that works there, and we have a number of directives around how we can lower our utility bills for Coloradans. Many of them are in those agencies. We're also joined by Lena Zarate, Colin Wang, Jill Egbertson, and Simone Renee. Four folks, like so many Coloradans, who have had to struggle to pay higher utility bills these last few months. So we all know a bit about what's happening due to international conflict, extreme weather. Home heating costs have skyrocketed for Coloradans, and of course it costs across the country. Colorado, from the last reporting period, still has a lower than average natural gas costs. There were 30 states that had more expensive natural gas. We have lower than average electricity costs, but that's really little consolation when people have had hundreds of dollars of increases in their bills across the entire country, including here in Colorado, almost entirely because of the spike in natural gas costs, which is transferred directly, of course, for home heating and natural gas, but also is part of why electricity costs have gone up, because natural gas is one of the sources that we use for power generation for electricity. So we really focus on both of those. Natural gas is a globally traded commodity. The market sets the price, but there's a lot we can do to make ourselves more immune to that in the future and provide relief now and save people money. And we are going to be very aggressive in our approach to lowering costs. Really taking every possible action that we can at the state level, calling on the Public Utilities Commission to do the same, calling on our utility partners to take very specific actions as well. Colorado has several different kinds of utilities. As you know, we have municipal utilities, we have investor-owned utilities, and we have co-ops. So it's a landscape depending on where you are, where you live, different kinds of utilities, but a lot of the recommendations and actions we're taking really impact all of those to different degrees. The most directly regulated by the Public Utilities Commission are, of course, the investor-owned utilities. I'm directing the Public Utilities Commission to improve long-term price stability and reduce customer exposure to price spikes. And that includes holding utilities more accountable to ratepayers. For more immediate relief, I'm requesting the PUC elevate frontline resources. That includes programs like Low-Income Energy Assistance Program, LEAP, Utility Percentage of Income Payment Plans, PIP, many other forms of state and local assistance, and directing the Colorado Energy Office to work with the utilities to identify those most vulnerable and prioritize additional outreach and resources to folks who are disproportionately affected by the increased prices. We're also looking forward to reducing costs through better access to energy efficient upgrades, and that includes everything from home appliances to weatherization. I'm directing the Colorado Energy Office to expedite the creation of the federally funded Whole Home Energy Retrofit Program, which will help more Coloradans save money on their utility bills. I'm also urging the leadership at Colorado's energy utilities to support regulatory changes and relief to reduce consumers' exposure to high gas prices, and of course working to drive the transition to lower cost renewable energy that is not subject to these kinds of price spikes from external factors. Those are just a few of the nearly over 30 detailed recommendations and directions across several different agencies that we are taking to save Coloradans money. Of course, the long-term solution is to continue driving towards 100% low-cost renewable energy, ending our reliance on costly fossil fuels that also make us vulnerable to price increases when they cost a lot more. And that's how we can end our reliance on fossil fuels, improve energy security, reduce rates for ratepayers. It's simple math. Wind generation is priced at about 1.8 cents per kilowatt hour. New solar energy with storage is priced out at about 3 cents per kilowatt hour, and natural gas cost generation range from 4 to 7 cents a kilowatt hour. In the last month or two, closer to that 7 cent piece rate. Now natural gas costs have come back a little bit. You'll see soon soon see the savings from that, but it's still around 4 cents a kilowatt hour, really twice the cost of wind energy, 50% more than solar energy with storage. So the sooner we can rely on lower cost renewable energy, the sooner that ratepayers will see the dividend, the green dividend from that. We have the tools we need to protect Coloradans and reduce costs, and it's time to act. We're going to be moving full speed ahead with regard to these measures, and we want to make sure that all utilities continue to be increasingly accountable to ratepayers, and that we want to work with all of our energy providers and the state and the federal government to provide relief and reduce rates for both gas bills and electric bills as quickly as possible and in as an enduring way as possible, meaning for years. A lot of these actions are designed to have an impact on preventing the kind of price spikes next winter season that we had this winter season. As I indicated, natural gas prices are back down. You will see decreases in the next month or two, but we need to be ready for whatever comes our way, whether it's a storm in Texas, whether it's additional global conflict. We need that energy security that low-cost, reliable, renewable energy can bring, and we're really aligning all of the resources we can to make that happen. With that, I'm happy to introduce the Colorado Energy Office Director, Will Torr.
Thank you, Governor. We at the Colorado Energy Office recognize the hardship that increased natural gas costs has imposed on all Coloradans. Understanding this burden, we welcome these directives and looking forward to continuing our work to address this issue. At the forefront of our efforts, we'll be rolling out new and expanded energy efficiency programs that can play a big role in reducing costs by limiting wasted energy. Study after study shows that so much energy goes unused through leaks and other inefficient heating and cooling, and this must be addressed. The largest new programs will be the Whole Home Energy Retrofit Program and the High Efficiency Electric Appliance Rebate Program. They'll be funded to $140 million of federal funds from the Inflation Reduction Act. While the federal funding for these programs won't be available till the end of the year, we're committed to working with stakeholders to be ready to go as soon as those funds are available and getting them into people's pockets. In addition, we'll be ensuring the implementation of the state's building performance standard, which will lock in big cost savings. Through rulemaking that's just getting underway, every dollar invested by building owners through this program will provide $3 in utility bill savings for the 8,000 plus Colorado buildings that are larger than 50,000 square feet. These will help consumers because many of the structures covered by this program include multifamily housing. We'll also be focusing on establishing new statewide building energy codes and providing technical assistance to local governments adopting the codes in collaboration with the Department of Local Affairs, which will play an important role in ensuring that new homes are constructed to be energy efficient and have much lower utility costs. We'll continue to work with the Public Utilities Commission and Colorado Utilities to identify the customers most vulnerable to gas price increases and prioritize outreach to them and getting these programs to them. We'll do this by providing tools and resources for all Coloradans to understand utility, state, and federal incentives, rebates, tax credits, loans, and other available funds. We'll also coordinate with the Colorado Clean Energy Fund, the Neighborhood Energy Improvement District, and utilities to combine rebate and incentive programs with low-cost financing, such as on-bill financing, to minimize upfront costs of these investments for residents and businesses. And along with taking immediate action, we'll continue to work for long-term solutions to satisfy our energy needs in a way that both addresses our bold energy transition goals and protects pocketbooks. In part, this means pursuing a broad suite of renewable energy options and embracing innovative approaches to reaching that goal. To that end, this session will push for legislation for geothermal energy, which will cut prices for consumers over time, and we'll begin implementing microgrid programs with state and federal funding to provide cost-saving and resilience benefits across the state. We look forward to this challenge. With that, I will pass it back to the Governor.
Thank you. With these actions, we really want to take every possible thing we can do to reduce rates, both immediately, medium term, and long term. To speak about the impact that these rates have had, we have a number of Coloradans who are experiencing this firsthand to share their stories. First, I'd like to introduce Rena Zarate. Rena va a hablar en español, y yo voy a traducir. I will translate Rena's remarks after she speaks. I do have a cheat sheet. And with that, quiero prestar a ustedes Rena Zarate.
Hola, mi nombre es Reina Zarate. Estoy aquí hoy como esposa y como madre de 2 hijos, cuyas facturas de servicios públicos casi se ha duplicado en los últimos 2 meses. Antes pagué $200. En estos días pago 450. Esto impacta mi vida y la vida de mi familia de grandes maneras.
My name is Rena Zarate. I'm here today as a wife and mother of 2 children whose utility bill has nearly doubled over the past couple of months. Before, I paid $200. These days, I pay $450, and it's impacting my life and my family's life in many ways.
Mi hijo actualmente va a la Universidad Estatal de Metro y aumentó este impacto mi capacidad de apoyarlos. A través de la escuela, todos sabemos que la universidad es cara y que ahora se ha vuelto aún más difícil a pagar. Mi hija tiene 18 años y está solicitando escuelas. Este aumento de proyecto de ley está impactando de mi capacidad para ayudar a pagar las tarifas de solicitud de mis hijos.
My son currently goes to Metro State University, and this bill is making it harder for me to support him through school. We all know that college is very expensive, and now it's becoming even harder to pay for. My daughter is 18 years old and applying to schools.
The fact is, it's hard to study.
To help provide relief. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Jill. Our final speaker today is Simone Renee. Simone?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction, Governor. My name is Simone Renee. I'm a resident of the city of Aurora, a mom of 3 beautiful children, a 15-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter, and a 4-year-old son who's here with me today. Rising energy bills have impacted my family as a single mother. I felt the pressure of these bills increasingly each month. I work full-time at a local nonprofit, but despite that, I'm still struggling to keep up. Every month, I am faced with the choice of what I can pay given the increased cost of living and cost of energy. I'm doing the best that I can, but the reality is that it's becoming harder and harder to keep up. It's hard to plan and budget when bills keep changing. This past October, just 4 months ago, I paid $166.15 for my energy bill. This month, the bill came in at $378.18 for January 12th. That's a more than $200 difference, similar to others. How can families plan ahead, budget, when you don't know what the cost of your next bill will be? There's changes from $50 to $100 to $200 per month. Makes it super hard to plan. For a mom like me, these increased costs and high cost of living mean the difference between keeping my 4-year-old in preschool and keeping the lights on. Those are the types of choices that no one should be forced to make. As a matter of fact, I've had to remove my son from preschool in the last few months, trying to juggle these bills. Not to mention having to juggle the costs related to activities of my older children, like sports. These activities come with equipment and uniform costs and other activity fees. I want to ensure that my children have those opportunities, so I work to balance those costs. But again, it's super difficult to plan when you're unable to know if your bills are going to remain the same or increase drastically. I know that I'm not alone. Just like me, there are many families being forced to make similar choices, and this must stop. Though I work full-time and I've been fortunate to get a raise in the last year, it's not enough to keep up with the rising cost of energy. I want to thank Governor Polis and other state leaders for their actions in helping lower the costs and provide relief, but the time for action is now.
Thank you, Simone. And what you're hearing from folks really across our state is, your utility and your energy bills are basically fixed costs. You know, can you impact them a little bit by setting your thermostat down? You can, but not a lot. We're all impacted, and incomes have not gone up as much as the cost of heating and the cost of electricity has. And that's why we're taking these actions now to make sure we align the state effort towards reducing rates and saving people money. Natural gas prices are already on their way down. People will see some immediate short-term relief in next month's bill, but we need to think a lot deeper than that. We need to prevent Colorado ratepayers, all customers, all of us, from being vulnerable to these enormous price swings in these global commodities, particularly as it impacts natural gas, which so many Coloradans use for heating and is also a part of providing power on our electricity grid. I want to thank all of our speakers for joining us. I'm also joined by Patty Salazar from from DORA, Will Tor from Energy Office. They'll be happy to answer questions alongside me as we get into their respective areas. And they are also recipients of the letter, including directions from the governor. And with that, happy to open it up for questions. Maria, will you call on the questioners? Connor?
En español, gobernador, ¿cuándo van a ver un cambio real en el precio de las facturas? Porque
Sí.
han pagado mucho, 200, 300 dólares.
Sí. Pues el próximo mes las utilidades van a costar menos porque ya bajaron el precio de natural gas. Pero necesitamos mejorar nuestro sistema para proteger a la comunidad, todos los clientes, de poder contra costos altos en la futura también.
All right, thank you. Governor, there are some people who might say, and who do say, that you could help cushion this blow with these price hikes, given what's going on with the drilling here in Colorado, that we could have been doing more. I know that there are more permits that are going out, but I just wonder if you have any regrets with not doing more here at home.
Well, there's no connection there. As you indicated, there are more permits, but the price of natural gas, it's a global commodity. So Colorado is a producer, but we are not a producer that our policies drive global pricing. The reason global pricing increased, the biggest single reason is the war in Ukraine and Europe. Secondary reasons include cold snaps and increased demand. So certainly Colorado and our production industry is a small part of the overall quantity side. But, you know, Colorado's policies with regard to, if granting more permits worked, we wouldn't have had this price spike because we actually granted more permits. But clearly, that did not impact the price of natural gas. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Thank you. So then with renewable energy or with other things like solar panels, we heard this family talk about how they're looking into that. With that 6-month delay or more that we've been reporting on, I wonder what your thoughts are on that as families are also looking for an alternative.
Yes, part of what we're calling on is to expedite that process, as well as reducing financing costs with on-bill rebates or tariffs. They're often rebates because they're actually net savings. So if you sign up for solar, you might get a dividend on your monthly rate. But certainly reducing the time is a key aspect of that. It should not take anyone 6 months to have to go through red tape to get solar on their home. They should be able to move much quicker to begin saving money sooner.
Yeah, Governor, one thing I haven't heard you talk about is base rates. The PUC has continually approved base rate increase. Those aren't the commodity price increases you're talking about, but these are to cover the capital projects that they've approved, plus a profit for the ratepayers. Is it time for the PUC to stop approving new base rate increases?
Well, I think that certainly in interviewing and evaluating potential PUC appointees, I wanted to make sure we would have independent thinkers who would push back against rate increases. The truth is, renewable energy is lower cost. The sooner we can move off of high-cost coal energy and high-cost and volatile natural gas energy, the sooner we can pass these savings along to consumers. There are utilities like Tri-State powering the co-ops that have had no increases in their electricity rates this year or last year. And we need to make sure that we have a PUC that will support consumers in pushing back against unnecessary capital costs that also include profit margins for the investor-owned utilities.
Governor, you talk about the PUC holding utilities more accountable. Do they have that authority now, or are there things in statutes that should be changed to give
They have the authority they need with regard to investor-owned utilities. They don't have nearly as much authority with co-ops and municipal utilities. But these directions are towards all of the utilities in Colorado, regardless of what their form, both the co-ops, the municipals, the investor-owned. Their business is very similar and nearly the same, no matter what how they're structured from an ownership perspective. We want to make sure that the state is able to remove barriers to low-cost renewable energy and support people who are choosing to engage in that transition for home and for storage at the home level with lower-cost financing.
Jesse, then Marshall.
Governor, obviously people knew that the natural gas rates were going to go up. We've known that for months in advance. So why are you acting kind of ex post facto, right? Like the rates are already up. And then also reasonably, how fast can people expect some of these orders to have effect? I know Mr. Tor talked about a year for some of these rebates, several months for some of these other programs.
So electricity rates and natural gas rates are expected to come down in the next few months. We are trying to align the actions we need to take to avoid or reduce future price spikes in time for the next high demand season, which would be next winter. So certainly some of these are on a quicker timeline, but natural gas prices historically increase when demand increases, which is over our cold winters. We need to make sure we take action now to reduce the vulnerability of Coloradans to rate increases in the future, even as we take the immediate actions we can to get additional aid out now.
And then also, all three PUC members now have been appointed by you. Are you disappointed that they approved some of these base rate hikes?
Well, if the PUC is an independent regulatory authority. From time to time, we can issue comments on their proceedings through the Energy Office, which we have, particularly with regard to the surcharge, which is still in place, sadly, from the Texas winter storm of 2 years ago. So we have a process for intervening formally. We'll certainly look at that process going forward if there's ways that we feel we can reduce people's utility bills and prevent additional increases.
Marshall.
I wanted to sneak two questions into one, but if I can just quickly follow up on base rates and then ask my quicker
Sure.
question. Excel told me when it comes to a customer's pay, it's fuel, natural gas, labor, equipment, and maintenance. But as we saw, as I learned last week, we're also paying, as part of the base rate, the lawyer's fees for Excel or energy companies to argue why they need a rate increase. Customers paid them back for that work. Did you know that that's part of what we pay? And are you okay with the PUC saying that's an okay thing to pass on to ratepayers?
No, I don't think that expenses like advertising or fighting against consumer protections or lobbying should be included in base rates that ratepayers are forced to pay. And we'd be happy to look at how we can avoid that from occurring, whether that's through action at the PUC or if it necessitates legislation.
The short question, one of your bullet points is incentivizing utilities to reduce customer costs. How do you incentivize a utility that's not hurting?
So very simply, what we mean with that one is not only should utilities not make more money simply because they're charging more, and to be clear, many of these natural gas costs are pass-throughs, meaning the utilities are not necessarily making more money. What we're trying to find out as a way is how do you make less money or less profit when you are passing cost increases along. The flip side of that, of course, is that yes, you have the potential for more profit. We're not against profit if you were able to save ratepayers money and reduce costs. So we want to create a structure, an incentive structure, where this is primarily our investor-owned utilities. They do have the opportunity to do better and increase profits. How do they do that? By reducing rates, and then perhaps they get to retain a percentage of those rate reductions as an incentive. But the flip side of that is how are they then penalized if they fail to prevent and protect ratepayers from increases?
Gabby, do you have a question? Just want to give you a chance. Okay. Kate?
With regard to the Office of the Utility Consumer Advocate, it seems that office goes ignored by the Public Utilities Commission. Has there been any thought to giving that office more strength?
Well, so the Public Utilities Commission is independent. I don't question their independence. The governor can intervene, as I have, especially with regard to trying, with very limited success, we got some success in avoiding the surcharges from the future price spikes in natural gas.
Last question for Alan.
Governor,